There's a certain kind of quiet that only exists when you're home. Not the quiet of boredom or emptiness, but the quiet that feels like safety. It's the distant hum of the refrigerator, the soft click of a clock, and the realization that for once, nobody needs you to be anywhere else. It's not loneliness, it's peace. You know that friend who always cancels plans? The one who's sick again, tired again, maybe next time. That friend isn't avoiding you, they're protecting something. Something most people don't understand. If you're someone who genuinely gets more excited about a Friday night in pajamas than a Friday night out, you're about to feel very seen. Because today, we're breaking down the psychology of people who love staying at home. The ones society calls boring, the ones science calls something else entirely. Most people don't understand this kind of contentment. They look at someone who loves staying home and assume they're antisocial, withdrawn, maybe even afraid of the world. But for some people, home isn't a retreat from life. It's the one place where they can actually breathe. Because out there, in the noise of constant comparison, pressure, and performance, they lose themselves. At home, they find who they are again. How your nervous system actually works. Here's the thing most people get wrong. Extroverts recharge by being around people. Their energy comes from the noise, the movement, the chaos. They thrive in crowds. They feel alive in conversation. But introverts and people who prefer solitude, they recharge in stillness. Every social interaction, even a fun one, slowly drains their battery. And home is the only charger that actually works. Psychologists call this optimal arousal theory. Some people need more stimulation to feel good. They need loud music, packed rooms, constant activity. Others need less. They need quiet, space, calm. It's not laziness or fear. It's just how their nervous system is wired. Think about it like this. Imagine your brain has a certain amount of energy it can process each day. For extroverts, being around people barely uses that energy. But for people who love staying home, every interaction takes a chunk. Every conversation requires focus. Every social situation demands energy they can't easily replace. So by the end of a normal day with work, errands, small talk with strangers, they're exhausted. Not physically tired, mentally and emotionally drained. And the only thing that helps is being alone, in their own space, with no expectations. That's why they cancel plans. Not because they don't care about you, but because they literally have nothing left to give. Their battery is empty, and socializing would require them to operate on fumes. This isn't antisocial behavior, it's self-preservation. The need for control. But there's more going on than just introversion. Some people love staying home because their environment gives them a sense of control they don't get anywhere else. Out there, the world is unpredictable, loud strangers getting too close. Last-minute changes to plans, small talk with people who don't actually care about your answer. Traffic that makes you late, restaurants that are too crowded, situations you can't escape from easily. But at home, you control everything, the lighting, the temperature, the noise level. Who's there and who isn't, what you eat, when you eat, whether you talk or stay silent, every single variable is yours to manage. For people with anxiety or high sensitivity, that control isn't a luxury, it's survival. Because when you're highly sensitive to stimulation, the world outside can feel overwhelming. Too bright, too loud, too much. Home becomes the only place where your nervous system can fully relax. Studies show that people who process sensory information more deeply often prefer quiet, controlled environments. Their brains are working harder to filter all the input coming in. So reducing that input by staying home isn't avoidance, it's balance. It's giving their brain a break from the flood of information it processes every second they're outside. And here's what's beautiful about that. At home, they're not shutting down. they're finally opening up. Because when the external noise stops, their internal world can finally speak. If you're starting to see yourself in this, if you're realizing there's actual psychology behind why you feel this way, subscribe to Mindseed. We explore the hidden reasons behind your behaviors, helping you understand that staying home isn't weakness, it's wisdom about what you need. Where the mask comes off. Let's be honest, it's not just about overstimulation. There's something deeper, something almost spiritual about loving home. Home is the only place where you get to take off the mask. The social version of you, the one that smiles on command, the one that knows what to say, when to laugh, how to fit in. That version can finally dissolve when the door closes behind you. And what's left? The raw, unfiltered version, the one that doesn't need to impress anyone, the one that just exists. It's strange, isn't it? How you can be surrounded by people all day and still feel unseen. But the moment you're home, sitting by a window with a cup of tea, you finally feel visible to yourself. That's the quiet magic of solitude. It's not isolation, it's intimacy, but with your own soul. We romanticize extroversion in our culture. We celebrate people who are constantly busy, constantly out there, doing, posting, performing. We treat silence like it's suspicious and stillness like it's laziness. But there's a quiet power in people who know how to be alone without feeling lonely. Because they've learned that fulfillment isn't always found in noise. Sometimes it's found in the pauses. When you're constantly surrounded by people, your identity starts to fragment. You become a version of yourself for each audience, the work you, the friend group you, the family you, each one slightly different, slightly adjusted to fit expectations. But when you're home, you're the only audience that matters, and that's where you finally get to be whole. The creativity connection. Here's something wild that research keeps confirming. People who enjoy solitude tend to be more creative, more introspective, and better at problem solving. Staying home isn't doing nothing. It's where the best ideas are born. Not in a crowded bar with music blasting, but in a quiet corner with a book, or during a thought spiral at 2 a.m. when everyone else is asleep. When psychologists study the link between solitude and creativity, they find something profound. People who spend more time alone often report higher levels of originality and imagination, because solitude gives them the freedom to listen to their inner voice, unfiltered, uninterrupted, unjudged. When you're surrounded by people all the time, your thoughts adapt. You start thinking in public language, shaped by how others might perceive it. But when you're alone, your thoughts unfold in their native form. And that's where real creativity begins. Think of all the great artists, writers, thinkers. Many of them loved solitude. Not because they disliked people, but because they needed space to think, to dream, to wrestle with their own ideas without distraction. People who love staying home often have this rich inner world that others never see. They notice things most people miss, the way sunlight hits a wall at a certain time, the way dust dances in the air, the sound of distant rain. There's poetry in ordinary moments when you're paying attention. And you can only pay attention when you're not constantly performing for an audience. The comfort of routine. There's also a psychological comfort in routine that people who love staying home understand deeply. The brain loves predictability because it reduces anxiety. When you know where everything is, when the space feels familiar, your mind relaxes. For someone who loves staying home, this predictability becomes sacred. It's not monotony, it's emotional regulation. Every object, every small ritual, lighting a candle, making the same morning coffee, sitting in your favorite spot becomes a way of telling your nervous system, you're safe now. Out in the world, everything is unpredictable. You don't know who you'll run into, what mood people will be in, what unexpected situations you'll have to navigate. That unpredictability keeps your nervous system on alert. But at home, Everything is known, familiar, safe. And that safety allows your body to finally release the tension it's been holding all day. This is what scientists call a low-threat environment. When you're at home, you're not in survival mode, you're in rest mode. Your body stops producing as much cortisol, the stress hormone, because there's no need to defend or perform. That's why your thoughts often feel clearer at home. That's why emotions you've been holding back all day suddenly surface when you're alone. Your guard drops, and all the feelings you couldn't process in public finally have space to exist. It's healing disguised as quiet. When society doesn't understand. And let's be real, society romanticizes being out there, the influencers, the party pics, the live your best life culture. If you're not constantly visible, people assume you're missing out. But what if your best life is a documentary, some tea, and zero obligations? That's not sad, that's self-awareness. Some people will never understand that kind of contentment. To them, silence feels heavy, and solitude feels like punishment. But for people who love being home, silence isn't emptiness, it's music. It's the sound of finally being enough. There's a difference between choosing solitude and being forced into it. One is empowering, the other is isolating. People who genuinely love staying home aren't avoiding life. They're living it on their own terms. They're not running from connection. They're just selective about what kind of connection they allow into their space. They'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who make them feel invisible. That's not arrogance, that's discernment. And when they do find the right people, people who understand that friendship doesn't require constant contact, they love deeply, quietly, completely. Because they know the value of energy, they give attention carefully, affection intentionally, and trust slowly. The dark side. Now, there's an important distinction to make. Some people stay home for a darker reason. Social anxiety, past trauma, depression that quietly whispers, "What's the point?" For them, home becomes both a refuge and a cage, and this is where it gets complicated. Because there's a difference between staying home because it fills you up and staying home because leaving feels too heavy. One is peace, the other is hiding. If you find yourself staying home not because you want to, but because you can't face the outside world, that's not self-care. That's a signal that something needs attention, maybe therapy, maybe support, maybe just honest conversation with someone who gets it. But for those who truly love staying home, who feel genuinely happy on a solo Saturday, who recharge in their own company, who feel lighter, not heavier, after time alone, they're not broken, they're just wired differently. They find joy in small rituals, the morning routine, the favorite spot on the couch, the way the light changes throughout the day, things most people rush past. Psychologists call this low stimulation preference. These people don't need the world to entertain them. Their inner world is rich enough. They can sit with their own thoughts without panic. They can spend hours alone without feeling lonely. That's not sad, that's rare. The peace you've been looking for. There's something deeply human about needing a place to retreat, to pause, to reset. In ancient times, monks would go to mountains or caves to meditate. Today, people do it in bedrooms, reading corners, or tiny apartments filled with plants and books. It's the same impulse, the need to return to stillness after chaos. Home is just the modern temple. And here's the psychology behind it. When you're at home, in your own space, doing things at your own pace, your brain finally stops trying to predict what's coming next. It stops scanning for threats. It stops managing impressions. It just exists. And in that existence, something beautiful happens. You start to hear yourself again. Not the voice that's been trained to please others, but your actual voice. The one that knows what you need, what you want, what feels true. People who love staying home aren't escaping the world. They're trying to feel it more deeply. They turn solitude into clarity, stillness into creation, quiet into meaning. Their homes become extensions of their minds. Every small detail carries intention. Every corner has memory. It's not just a building, it's a physical manifestation of their inner world. The strength in choosing stillness. There's something sacred about people who choose stillness over spectacle. It takes courage to say no to noise, to step back from the endless need to be seen, and to find value in invisibility. Because in that invisibility, something extraordinary happens. Authenticity returns. You start to live, not to impress, but to express. You start to see life not as a competition, but as a conversation with yourself. And suddenly, the walls that once felt confining begin to feel like wings. That's the secret psychology of people who love staying home. They're not escaping life. They're embracing it differently. They're noticing it, feeling it, honoring it at a slower rhythm. They're not running away from the world. They're creating a version of it that feels humane again. A version where the heart gets to breathe. And when they step outside, when they finally do decide to go out, they bring something rare, calm energy. They don't add to the noise. They carry stillness like a gift. Because once you've found peace in solitude, you stop searching for it in chaos. You stop demanding that others make you feel at home. You carry home inside you. The truth about your choice. So if you're someone who loves staying at home, don't apologize for it. Don't let the world convince you that peace is unproductive or that comfort is complacency. You're not missing out, you're tuning in. You're doing the inner work. Most people are too busy to notice, and that work, quiet as it seems, is what shapes everything else. Because when the world feels uncertain, when people are searching for meaning, it's often the quiet ones who've already found it. Not in crowds or noise, but in the gentle rhythm of ordinary days. The warmth of morning light, the softness of evening rain, the sound of your own heartbeat, the stillness of a room that finally feels like yours. Home isn't just a building, it's a reflection of peace earned, not given. A sanctuary built out of patience, presence, and authenticity. It's where you meet yourself again and again until one day you realize you were never really alone. You were just coming home to yourself. Sometimes people assume that staying home means you've given up on life, but often it means you finally stopped running from yourself. You stopped chasing every invitation, every trend, every weekend plan that promises fun but delivers exhaustion. You realize that joy doesn't always need witnesses, that the best moments sometimes happen in complete silence. You start noticing details you used to miss, the way your heartbeat calms when the world outside is distant, the small satisfaction of doing something at your own pace, the way your mind opens when it's not constantly fighting for space. It's not isolation, it's a reunion with your own mind. So tell me, are you someone who prefers staying home? Someone who feels more alive in solitude than in crowds? Drop a comment. I want to hear your story. And if this resonated with you, if you finally feel understood, hit that subscribe button. We explore psychology that validates your choices every single week, because you're not boring. You're not missing out. You're just living at a frequency most people can't hear. And that's exactly what makes you rare.